ahead and call this meeting to order and welcome you to a meeting of the College Station Independent School Board of Trustees. I hope you're enjoying our new room and that nobody had any trouble finding us this evening. I think there were lots of notices posted. We were elected at large to represent the interests of our community and our state in educating our students. Our mission for our students in this district is success each life, each day, each hour. We adhere to all pertinent laws, policies, and procedures in posting agendas and conducting our meetings. The detailed agenda information was made available to us at least 72 hours in advance, and we have all come to this meeting informed and prepared. We have just completed a workshop meeting where we heard reports and discussed much of the information needed to make decisions in either this meeting or in upcoming meetings. This is a meeting of the 7 trustees in a public setting rather than a public meeting. As such, public comment is included on the agenda at a specific time and requires us to listen rather than take action so as to abide by the Open Meetings Act. We are pleased that you've taken time this evening to join us. We are very proud of this school district, and we thank you for your interest and support of our students. Dr. Ely.
Thank you, Dr. Yokin. Members of the board, we'll begin this evening, as we do all of our board meetings, with the pledges of allegiance to the American flag, Texas flag, and a moment of silence. And we have kiddos to lead us today from College Hills Elementary and Pebble Creek Elementary. And if the principals from both College Hills and Pebble Creek will come introduce our students, we can get started. Thank you. Yeah, so we can have it on the record.
All right, welcome. My name is Josh Hatfield, very proud principal of College Hills Elementary School, and with me this evening I do have Bethany West. She is one of our 4th grade students. She is an ambassador on our campus, which they do a lot of many things around the campus to help out and raise funds across the campus. She is also in dual language on our campus and speaks fluent Spanish. And outside of school, utilizing that Spanish, she does go to Barnes & Noble and does read books to Head Start students on several Fridays. We also had Maya, who was supposed to be here today, Maya Daly. Unfortunately, she went home sick, but she is also an ambassador and always has a smiley face, so we wish her well to get well very quickly as well.
Good evening. I'm Annette Rohrbach, principal at Pebble Creek Elementary, and I am very happy to introduce to you 2 of our finest Panthers. This is Mark McGar and Ely Neunert. They are both 4th graders and have been at Pebble Creek since they were in kindergarten. And Ely is part of our GT program. Her favorite subject is math. She loves to ride horses, to play with her cat, Phoebe. And she loves to read, a girl after my own heart. Her favorite book is Harry Potter. And she likes to draw as well. She is very involved in a lot of different things. She's a busy girl. She dances. Jazz is her favorite. And she also plays volleyball. She's a member of our student council and is one of our choir cats. And Mark is also a 4th grader. He's also in our student council, and his favorite job in student council is to work with the pre-kindergarten kids. They help out with the kids at breakfast in the morning, so that is pretty awesome. He is also a soccer player. He loves math, reading, and science, and he is a fabulous chef. So he has won, he's in 4-H, and he's won awards for his cooking. And his team actually won 5th place in the regionals. And so his dish was Hawaiian-style pork chops. So Teresa, I think he's a future 50 men who can cook guy. I haven't tasted its food, but I know it's awesome. So, and his mom, both of their moms are teachers at Pebble Creek.
Now for the American flag. Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Salute pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas one state, under God, one and indivisible.
And now for a moment of silence.
Thank you.
You gotta stay up here and take a picture.
Come on in, Mom. 2, 3. One more time. Okay, y'all are good.
Thank you, guys.
While we're getting resettled, I'd like to ask you to look at the back of the room where we have artwork that was done to us by students of College Hills Elementary, Creekview Elementary, Pebble Creek Elementary, and Spring Creek Elementary. We appreciate all the effort of all the students and look forward to seeing what else comes as the year goes on. We are going to look at the consent agenda. The items that are on consent are G, J3, J4, J5, J6, J7, J8, and J9. Does anybody have anything that they would like to pull off a consent? Do I have a motion?
I would move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The consent agenda is approved 7-0. Thank you. We'll move on to board reports. Does anybody on the board have anything they'd like to share with the other members?
I have 2 items, and one of them I'm going to do a handout. I attended the Intergovernmental Committee meeting this week, and one of the topics was what Blinn College and Texas A&M University System were doing at the Relis campus. And if we could just flow through some of the different programs that's coming in, I think they're very exciting for the community and also some of the students in our district. Texas A&M University Texarkana is going to be offering a Bachelor of Science degree in biology. West Texas A&M University is going to do a Bachelor of Applied Arts and Science and an Emergency Management Administration degree. They're also going to do a Bachelor of Applied Arts and Science with the health and focuses on the health sciences. Texas A&M University Corpus Christi is going to offer Bachelors of Business Administration degrees in Finance, Marketing, and Management. They're also going to do a Bachelor of Business Administration degree in Accounting. Tarleton State University is going to be offering a Bachelor of Public Administration degree. Texas A&M University in Central Texas is going to do a Bachelor of Bachelor of Applied Arts and Sciences in Business Management. Prairie View A&M University is going to be offering a Bachelor of Sciences in Criminology and also in Nursing. Texas A&M University, I think they're focusing on the engineering program. So I think those programs are going to open a lot of doors for students that cannot get into Texas A&M University, College Station, and I think those guys, the economic engine of those degrees in our community is amazing. A couple of pages later, there's a chart. It's called Trades Training, and it has some percentage of changes. And a couple of these programs we've talked about here at College Station ISD, and I think it's worth noting that when Blinn started this, the construction trades at the Relis campus this year, their percentage is 100% up, but they're 2,197 contact hours. And if you look at the electrical, it's up 268%. The credit welding program is up 214 percentage points. I think this gives a lot of our students opportunities that are not going to go on to a 4-year degree, and I think it was worth adding to the minutes of this meeting to show that. I think between Texas A&M University Center, the Relis, and Blinn, they're doing a lot for students in our community. The other thing that I'm report on is the College Station ISD Personnel Advisory Committee meeting from last week. I think I'm going to do a public service announcement. We were at College Station High School. There's been a shortage of custodial staff. I don't know if I'll let Dr. Ely. It was one of the things that caught me by surprise about the lack of people applying for custodial jobs. Even though we did the salary structure, where they're still having people not applying for the jobs. And I thought when I went to College Station High School a week or two ago, I thought it was interesting the amount of school spirit that students were having. One of the questions that was asked in the government class, and it had to do with the campaign, is how come we're short custodial staff? And it was the day after the meeting. But the one thing I want to say is the pride that the students have in helping clean up their school, I mean, was amazing. But Dr. Ely was reporting of different ways to promote and try to get people to apply for jobs. So I thought I would make that part of this meeting minutes.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I would just say DEAC was hard again at work, but we're going to hear a lot from them about this District of Innovation thing here in just a second. So,
okay, thank you.
I have a report from the Education Foundation. Grant Patrol was a huge success this past Thursday, November the 9th. And thank you, Teresa, for typing this out for me. Over 80 board members, donors, College Station High School, A&M Consolidated High School, drumline, cheerleaders, and mascots helped award 51 grants totaling $137,388. Big deal. Star Educator programs. Don't forget to honor your child's teachers, school staff with a Star Educator Award. For a minimum $10 donation to the Education Foundation, your honoree will receive recognition in the Eagle, a Star Educator pin, and a congratulatory card identifying the donor. Thanks to Light Pediatric Dentistry for being our Star Educator sponsor this year. Flyers will be coming home, or make your donation online at givetokids.csisd.org.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? We'll move on to Dr. Ely, Superintendent Report.
Thank you, Dr. Yokin, members of the board. Lots of great things going on in College Station ISD. Both CSISD varsity football teams have qualified for the playoffs and will be playing on Friday night. The Tigers will square off against White House and in Sam Houston at Bauer Stadium. And the College Station Cougars will be squaring off with Jacksonville, excuse me, going from memory here, in Palestine that same evening. So congratulations to both groups on a great season and continued success in the playoffs. It's that time of year. We've rounded out now volleyball and team tennis and cross country and some other things, and basketball is starting to bounce in gyms, and we've got swimming is continuing to go throughout their fall season, and then we've got starting up pretty soon with soccer and wrestling and powerlifting. So a lot of great things going on in College Station ISD, especially in extracurriculars. And so do also want to mention that, remind everybody that it's the last full week before the Thanksgiving break. We will be in school full day Monday and Tuesday of next week, and we'll be off Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week to celebrate the holidays with our families. With that, that's my report.
Thank you. The next agenda item is F, hearing of citizens, and I have a card, but it's on an agenda item, and so we will wait until we get to that agenda item. Ms. Horn, do we have any other cards?
I do not.
All right, so we'll move on. Well, they have to be turned in.
If you wish to speak with the board this evening on a non-agenda item, then please come and turn them into Ms. Horn right now. If you wish to speak on an agenda item, same person, go to Ms. Horn. But we are at that point right now if anybody wants to speak on a non-agenda item.
So just to clarify, right now, if you speak, it has to be on something that's not on the agenda. Yeah, like okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly.
filled out the wrong card.
It's okay. We'll work through it.
So if you, thank you. And
Yes.
so what, for the audience, what we'll do now is ask during this time the public comment on non-agenda items. The board will listen, but the Open Meetings Act prevents us from responding to speakers. And so public comment are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Each person has only one opportunity at the microphone. Ms. Horn will give you the thumbs up or thumbs down when you've run out of time. So
Sure.
if you would please just give your name and your address before you start.
Sure. My name's Wendy Latendry, and my address is 5131 Bellary Bend Drive, College Station, Texas. Oh, okay. First statement when I put on there was rebranding. I think why people can put the two issues together was at an earlier board meeting at the beginning of the school year. There was, during the workshop session, there were times where y'all guys were talking about the splits, about the 3 splits, and if that meant maybe we need to look at changing colors, teams, and other things. And I think that's how those two issues got conflated in the community as a whole. However, I understand that to me, the color and the team is not as important as the 100-150-50 split revisit, because if the students, the teachers, and a lot of directors and administrators would like to have that split because it makes it easier for them in order to meet the needs of the students. As a member of the rezoning committee, I do remember this was a very contentious issue. It only passed by 2 votes. And I think after seeing that you had over 2,000 people respond in surveys and the attendance tonight, it shows that I think people are really interested more so in the split. I know there's people interested in the mascots and the colors and cougars and tigers, and I get that. But I think the compromise is the 100-150-50, and that it will allow for each high school to have its own middle school in order to continue its continuity of fine arts programs as well as athletic programs. I know for like at Consol, there's an issue regarding the size of the band, bells, many other fine arts programs that are even cheerleading. If they do not have the opportunity to go down and to say, hey, do you want to be a cheerleader? The program will suffer. And in fact, it did happen with the class that just graduated, that are seniors. There wasn't a freshman squad because there was no reach down into the school in order to get people excited about being a cheerleader. So it's very important that those continuities remain. However, I think as the committee was going along and we were going through with the 3 splits, what happened was we saw different types of how much it would cost, the complexities of the staffing between the 3 schools, and the amount of money it would cost. My main concern as a member of the community, that future boards could have the leeway in order to axe or to save money. They could say, well, we're going to slash having staff go down to the middle schools. It's a way to cut your savings. And I'm very concerned about that, and not necessarily now, but 5-10 years from now, before we get a 3rd high school. And that's an easy spot for someone to cut. Thank you.
Thank you. Is this on a non-agenda item? Okay, if you'd give it to Ms. Horn, please.
Hello, my name is Keandra Neely. First, I would like to thank the board members, because as this community school board, you represent the public's voice and the public's education, providing citizens governance for what the public school needs and what the community wants. We, as members of monolingual to bilingual, believe Spanish language classes in Texas lack the consistency in helping students retain useful bilingual skills. Spanish is one of the fastest growing languages in the United States today, and with the number of speakers being up 233% since 1980. The job market in the United States is extremely competitive, and it turns out one of the ways you can set yourself apart these days is by being able to speak Spanish. Most high-level executives tend to believe that language skills are very important for success in today's cutthroat business environment, and MTB believes that promoting better learning standards and education qualifications can better improve our high school Spanish classes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on non-agenda items? Okay, thank you. Then we will move on to H1, consider approval of the CSISD District of Innovation Plan. And I have a card on that, and so what we will do is allow the administration to make their presentation, and then the individual who has asked to speak can speak, and then we'll have our discussion.
Good evening. As you all know, College Station ISD has been looking at becoming a district of innovation since August. The board adopted a resolution on August the 15th. On September the 19th, the school board held a public hearing to get input from the community on exploring becoming a district of innovation. And on that same day at the regular board meeting, the board adopted a resolution to become a district of innovation. I'm sorry, on the 15th. And then on October 3rd, DEIC reviewed Texas education codes that are open to public school districts that want to become a district of innovation. In looking at the reason College Station ISD might want to become a district of innovation goes back to the purpose of the House bill that was passed that affected Texas Education Code Chapter 12 that allows public school systems some of the same flexibilities as charter schools. And so the district did decide, the board did decide to take advantage of those. They appointed a committee to explore the Texas education codes that we might want to include in a District of Innovation plan for College Station ISD. The committee the board appointed officially was the District Education Improvement Council. And I will say that that council, that group of people that represent all of our stakeholders in the community, looked at those Texas education codes and considered carefully the pros and cons for the district of each code. With that, there was a draft plan presented at DEIC for approval to post on the website with the Texas education codes that the committee had discussed that they felt would be beneficial to our school district and our learner or our children. That plan was posted online for 30 days. On November the 8th, the District Education Improvement Council held a public meeting to get public comments on the plan. And then at the regular District Education Improvement Council, the council did vote to approve the plan to present it forward to the school board for approval. Approval of this plan would allow College Station ISD to join the over 600 school districts in the state of Texas that are enjoying some of the same privileges and flexibilities that charter schools experience every day. And I will say that the District Education Improvement Council worked diligently in their discussion because we had educators on that committee, we had community members, business members, administrators, and parents. And we discussed from all those perspectives the Texas education codes that were eventually included in our draft plan. And that plan, as I said, has been posted on our website for 30 days, and DEIC did conduct a public meeting to solicit comments from the public at that time on that plan prior to bringing it to the school board for approval. And with that, tonight we are asking that the board approve that District of Innovation plan for College Station ISD.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, So we have Ms. Huff, if you'd like to come up and speak. Again, Ms. Horn will give you the limit as far as the time limit, and we won't be able to respond.
Yes, ma'am. Hi, I'm Jackie Huff. My address is 1810 Laura Lane, College Station. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. Very generally, I have some concerns about the District of Innovation Plan as it has been presented in the proposal that's been available for 30 days plus at this point. Very generally, I'm concerned that we're seeking waivers for some statutes without really giving safeguards to those waivers that will be that could be granted by TEA. So very specifically, I'm most concerned about a suggestion to ask for a waiver for the statute that concerns teacher planning and prep time. So currently in the state of Texas, Texas public teachers have a right to 450 minutes of preparation time within a 2-week period, and that time must be assigned within 45-minute chunks. We are seeking, or this proposal seeks a waiver to this planning and prep time statute and offers that it would allow CSISD to have flexibility in planning and preparation time that would allow for opportunities for increased collaboration, and that all educators would have quality planning time each month. So that's directly from the proposal. It also states that the district would create procedures in order to provide the adequate time educators need. My biggest concern is that we are looking to waive a statute that guarantees a quantitative amount of preparation time for teachers, and we are only providing a qualitative promise within this proposal itself. So teachers really need their preparation time, and I already feel like the statute is actually very flexible because it can fit within the traditional, each teacher gets 45 minutes per day of prep time. It could work with a block schedule where teachers get an hour and a half of prep time 5 times over a 2-week period. It could even work for a situation, there's a school in Austin that doesn't have students come in on Monday mornings and teachers get prep time on Monday mornings. So I already feel like there's a lot of flexibility within this statute, and should you vote yes on this proposal tonight, I'm just concerned because you're actually going to be taking this right away from teachers in the way that I understand that this works. And this was a hard-fought right for teachers. They need this planning time, and if you do go forward with this plan, I just want to urge you to really be diligent about following through on developing local guarantees to planning and prep time that involve a quantitative number, so that right is still protected for teachers, whether you differentiate based on like teachers in a traditional classroom setting versus teachers who are maybe in a more innovative classroom setting. That's fine, but I feel like if you're going to take this statute away from teachers, that you really need to make sure that you put in safeguards that will protect that right that teachers have currently. Thank you.
Comments?
You can come back, Ms. Trammell.
And yeah, I would like to respond to that because absolutely, we did consider that, and there was discussion in that. The thinking was more on the positive side. So right now, we do allow teachers the 450 minutes of planning time over the 2-week period. And as you stated, we do have some flexibilities in place, but what we were thinking was to allow more collaboration across the district. We were thinking in terms of, we have 2 high schools, we have many elementary schools, we have intermediate schools and middle schools, and teachers, because they have that limited amount of time, it's very difficult to coordinate schedules for them to meet and actually collaborate with depth on the curriculum and on the design for learning that they have for children. So our thought on that was actually you might get more time, not taking anything away from teachers. I think we have all been teachers that work in the district in a curriculum and instruction place, whether we're classroom teachers or central office people who have been teachers. And so we recognize that 45 minutes, quite frankly, just from experience, is not enough time. You usually work on the weekends as well. And so our idea was more of what innovative ways over the next 5 years, because this is a 5-year plan, can we structure planning so that our educators could actually have cross-campus collaboration, not just the departments on their campus, if that makes sense. So we were thinking more in the positive as opposed to taking something away. So I just wanted to clarify that. So, yeah.
I do have a question. If I'm reading it right, it does look like there will be the development by the district of guidelines and procedures.
Absolutely. And I will say one of the things I didn't mention when I came up and asked for the vote was that we have already, in collaborating with Chrissy Hester, we have already had our lawyers look at this plan. So they actually had very positive things to say about some of the thoughts and ideas that we have for College Station ISD and the educators in College Station ISD. They saw absolutely nothing in our plan that would cause them any need for concern or alarm. We had a phone conversation to talk through each one of the items in our plan, to talk about what that actually meant as far as actionable items for our district. And then always keeping in mind, 5 years is a long time at the rate that we are changing and how even professional learning is being conducted. So this is a plan that allows us flexibility should we choose to take advantage of it. We certainly don't want to be left behind in opportunities for our teachers and our students. So does that answer? The local parameters, we would work with the lawyers to get those established so that we have board policy in place, administrative guidelines in place that would make it very clear to everyone exactly what that entails.
So the District the District of Innovation gives us the ability to do this, and then we would go through the local policy making and rulemaking to flesh those out. And I appreciate the comments from Mrs. Huff about quantitative measures. If people know me, know I'm pretty quantitative. I think it's important for us to have targets for us to meet, and certainly the intent was not to lose planning time.
Exactly. So in fact, just the opposite. So thank you for that, though. You want?
Any other comments?
No, but I make the motion that the College Station Board of Trustees approve the District of Innovation Plan as it's recommended and approved by the DEIC, enabling College Station ISD to obtain the official status of the District of Innovation in the state of Texas.
We have a motion to...
I'll second.
Mr. Williams, second. Any discussion?
I would just add, having sat through all these meetings, you know, a lot of the things I think that are in this plan are not things that we have decided to do. They're things that these are the areas in which we're going to have options to do things. And DEIC is obviously staffed primarily with teachers from around the district, and they were really the ones that picked a lot of these things out. So, anyways, so.
I'd like to make a comment as well, because I sat in that meeting as well, and I'm really excited about some of the options that we could have with the District of Innovation Plan. It was already, they were already starting to work on some things in preparation of if we were to approve this, and some of the different ways of looking at some things that we've done the same way all the time, and they've got some different ideas about how we're going to, you know, do some of the same things, but in a maybe more exciting way. And even with this planning time, there were some options out on the table that I thought were worth discussing, and we can't even discuss them if we don't have, you know, a way to have those options. I think that the board will appreciate too some of the calendar talk that began, and I think the parents will appreciate it. I think it's very exciting to give us some options there. So they're working hard, and they are paying attention because the teachers are in there and the administrators are in there, and they are weighing in on this. So I do not think the board is moving forward with something that the teachers don't have a huge say in.
Good. All right. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving the motion as presented, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We'll move on to H2 and receive a report on child nutrition. Dr. Ely.
Thank you, Dr. Yokin, members of the board. 6 times a year we come to you and talk about a program, spotlight program we've got going on in College Station ISD, and we're proud today to bring and highlight and spotlight our child nutrition program. And before you, we have our Director of Child Nutrition, Bridget Goodlett, who has been in this role now for how many months, Bridget?
3.
3?
Yes.
And she's very excited to talk to the board in her 3rd month in this role. So
Yes.
we appreciate her and all the great things that she does for students, and look forward to hearing about the great things going on in child nutrition. So,
Yes.
Bridget.
Yes, in this role for 3 months, but with the district for 17 years. So I'm glad to be here tonight. Good evening, Dr. Yokin, Dr. Ely, and school board members. So I'm here to give a report over child nutrition, and during my report tonight, I will discuss staffing, the programs that child nutrition does participate in throughout the school year, our budget, and then I will wrap up with program challenges for the child nutrition department. Our professional staff, of course, is myself, director. We have Placida Moran, assistant director. She takes care of training our managers in training. As you know, we are building 5 schools in 5 years, and every time we add a school, we need a new manager. And so she has taken that upon herself to get those people trained and in their positions. She's also our campus sanitation expert. She trains all of our cashiers and takes care of all our technology, because every manager has a computer and every register needs maintenance as well. Sarah DeLujos is a dietitian in our office and a child nutrition coordinator. She has taken over the menu analysis, production records, which is a legal document each day that's completed for the amount of food we say we served for the kids that we claim we fed. Special dietary needs, which is a huge undertaking nowadays, and then catering coordinator. And to round out our professional staff in our office is Shelby Cryer, who joined our office yesterday. So we are glad to have her. When I moved up into the director position, that left a coordinator position open, and we were finally able to find the right person to fill that. So she will take over all the buying, which would be turning in all of our orders. Bid review specialist, which is checking pricing for us to make sure that our bid pricing is what's on the invoice, and she will develop a new employee training program that I'd like to see developed over this school year. All right. Our paraprofessional staff in our office is Anna De Leon. She is our receptionist, takes care of all our parents and employees' needs who coming in and out every day. She does all our catering billing and organizes our employee uniforms. Our Mamata takes care of all of our free and reduced applications for all our families in the district, gets our employees paid, and takes care of all our billing. And then we have Consuelo Solano, who takes care of our vending and is also our catering manager. Our campus staff, each campus has a state-certified food service manager. That means that every manager has taken a 16-hour course and passed a national exam to get this certificate. And this is one of the first things that the health department wants to see when they come in and do their inspection. And each campus is also staffed according to the number of kids they feed. So on average, an elementary school has a manager and 4 employees, an intermediate has 5, middle school 6, and both high schools have an assistant manager to help with all of the paperwork and planning each day, and 14 employees to get all those kiddos fed. With child nutrition, we operate the National School Breakfast and Lunch Program. We participate in the Summer Feeding Program. We provide catering for district events, and we manage the vending machines within district buildings. Each day, child nutrition prepares and serves approximately 2,100 breakfasts and 6,700 lunches amongst the 17 campuses. For 2016 through 17, the number of breakfasts that we fed was a little over 300,000, and for lunch, a little over 997,000. So you don't realize what you accomplish in a 9-month period until you see it in the big number for the whole school year. So many additional students purchase milk or food items that do not make up a school meal, and so that's not counted in these numbers here. So the kid that comes and buys an extra entree of some sort, or a drink, or a juice, or a side. And then in addition to those, we also feed about 175 adults every day in the district. Right. Under the terms of the National School Lunch and Breakfast Program, there are many regulations that we have to follow. We have to serve lunch and or breakfast that meets meal requirements, provide free and reduced price meals to eligible children, accept and use food commodities, maintain proper sanitation standards, comply with record-keeping requirements, comply with financial requirements and provisions, and operate the program on a nonprofit basis. So our menu requirements have been a big challenge since the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act of 2010. That changed a lot for us in the way we planned our menu and all of the stipulations on how to build a menu. And one of the things that it instituted was not only a calorie minimum, which we always had, but now there's a calorie maximum. So there's a window when you plan a menu over a 5-day average of you have to be in for the when you make a menu. All grains must be at least 51% whole grain. A variety of vegetable groups must be offered. And so the kids are like, why do we always have beans, or why do we have so much broccoli? Well, there's a minimum amount of beans and dark green and dark orange vegetables. And so they get tired of seeing the baby carrots, so we try to put in sweet potatoes and other things. But there are regulations. We tell them it's not just that we're forcing this on you. There are things that we have to do. Unflavored milk must be 1% fat or less, and flavored milk must be fat-free. A reimbursable student meal must include either a fruit or a vegetable at lunch. So in order to get past the cashier with a reimbursable meal, and it is reimbursable by the state. And so we will get money for that child when they pass by the cashier, is what reimbursable means. It has to have a fruit or a vegetable on their tray. And the same thing for breakfast, it must have a fruit. The total fat must be less than 30% fat or 10%, less than 10% saturated fat. The sodium restriction was also new with this Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act of 2010, and it had several tiers that we had to follow. And so we are currently in the second tier, where our sodium for an average of 5 days worth of meals has to be less than 1,230 milligrams. In the spring, new regulation came out from the government where we were supposed to drop in this school year to less than 935 milligrams of sodium. And they have put that on hold temporarily until there is medical evidence that will affect the children's health in a positive way to take that down again. And this is we feel like a huge victory for us to be held where it is, because every time the sodium level drops, all of our manufacturers have to reformulate everything for us to meet these regulations. And so we are excited that it's on hold right now, and so are they. And so are the kiddos. All right. Healthier menu choices. We do offer healthier versions of children's favorite foods. These are developed by manufacturers specifically for school food service. Most of the items on our menu are low-fat, whole-grain versions of familiar foods that are baked or steamed instead of fried, and portion sizes are age group appropriate to fit a healthy diet. Smart Snacks is another blessing that we received in July of 2014. It is the nutrition standards for foods sold in schools went into effect. And so this applies to any food sold a la carte in the cafeteria, in school stores, in vending machines, or as a fundraiser. And it considers any food sold during the school day as midnight of the school day until 30 minutes after the last period. So there is a special Smart Snacks calculator online where you can go in and enter something that you would like to sell to students. And it has a serving size, a calorie, a sodium, a fat, and a sugar limit. And it will let you know if your item is approved or not. Children with special needs has become a huge part of Ms. DeLujo's job with child nutrition. Substitutions are made for students with a physician's note stating that they have a life-threatening food allergy or disability. This may require texture change, eliminating food allergies, or writing an entire special menu. Currently, we have about 65 students on a specialized menu such as gluten-free, soy-free, or milk-free. Mrs. DeLujos works with the physician, parents, and campus nurses to be sure that students' needs are met, and campus staff are trained on each diet as needed. So we'll move on to the free and reduced meal applications. Children in households that qualify for SNAP or temporary assistance for needy families foster children and homeless children automatically qualify for free meals. New this year is a way we do direct certification. Direct certification is where a child does not have to complete an application. They are directly certified from the state into our system. So, but new this year is we now take our entire enrollment and upload it into the state database by at the Texas Department of Agriculture. And then they match students who are on SNAP or TANF in their system, or Medicaid. And then that whole entire enrollment comes back down, and then we load that into our computer system. And so those kiddos are automatically qualified without us having to contact parents or parents to fill out an application. And fortunately, Medicaid, this is the first year that being on Medicaid qualifies you for the free or reduced meal program. And so that's a big bonus for us. That has always been a question in the past from parents. They would say, well, we qualify for Medicaid. And we would always have to say that, unfortunately, that does not help us with this situation, but now it does. Other households qualify if their income is within limits on the federal income chart released yearly. A small percentage of our applications are chosen each year to be verified, and we are going to wrap that up tomorrow. When a child or a parent turns in an application, they have to just complete it with no proof of income with what they put on their application. And so verification is where we have our system randomly select a certain percentage of the applications that we have on file, and those parents then have to bring in proof of income to support the documentation that they filled out on their application. And then lastly, percentages of free and reduced students are the basis of many state and federal programs and are how the district defines the economically disadvantaged students. All right. For our summer feeding program, we do have 5 sites each summer. We feed at the Head Start ESL Summer School campus, the Lincoln Center, the AVID program at College Station Middle School, and we also feed at additional programs at A&M Consolidated Middle and High School. Last summer, we fed about 3,500 breakfasts and over 10,000 lunches. Catering and vending is also a part of what we do. Catering is provided for district activities. We also do Kids Club snacks and drinks. Last year, we provided Kids Club with over 170,000 snacks in the afternoons. We also provide Head Start 4 snacks per week, and those are fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, cheese sticks, crackers, yogurt, all very healthy items for them. And then we have 17 beverage and 4 snack vending machines in the district as part of our catering and vending program. Our child nutrition budget for this school year is a little over $6 million. Child nutrition operates on a nonprofit basis. All revenue goes back into our department. Our goal is to use no local funds. Revenue, how do we make our money? 49% of our revenue comes from federal reimbursement for the meals that we feed. So when a free student comes through our line, we will be reimbursed from the state $1.75 at breakfast and $3.23 at lunch. Reduced students, we will receive $1.45 at breakfast and $2.83 at lunch. And paid students, we receive 30 cents at breakfast and 31 cents at lunch. And this, for the paid, that's on top of what we charge those students when they come through the line. 46% of our revenue comes from payments. This would be for payments on accounts for these students that are paid for their breakfasts and lunches, and any a la carte purchases that students make when they come through the line. So when a reduced child eats breakfast, they are charged 30 cents and then 40 cents for lunch. When a paid child eats breakfast, $1.50 and $2.75 at the elementary school for lunch and $3 at the high secondary schools. And then a non-student, which would be any teacher or staff that eats with us, is $2.25 at breakfast and $3.75 at lunch. And then the other 5% of our revenue comes from catering and vending. Expenditures, where do we spend our money? 47% of our money goes to food, 43% to labor to pay for salary and benefits, and 10% on other expenses, including cleaning, paper supplies, uniforms, training, equipment, and child nutrition does pay the district for pest control and utility cost.
Large equipment for each of our new schools is included in the bond package, but child nutrition does cover old equipment in our older kitchens. And so on the next slide, this is just a summary of what was purchased from out of the child nutrition funds last year. We did purchase at College Station Middle School a new dish machine and a heated cabinet, South Nola dish machine, Cypress Grove an oven, Oakwood an ice machine, South Nola disposal, and Pebble Creek a new milk cooler, and this totals about $81,000. So to wrap up, challenges for child nutrition is balancing student preference, healthy meals, federal requirements, and food cost. We do surveys in the spring to find out what kids want to see on our menu next year. We do lots of taste testing with the kiddos in the spring to figure out what they like and they don't like. And so one of the recommendations that came out of last year's surveys, the kids wanted to see breakfast for lunch. And so we did add that this school year, and it has been a humongous hit. So very, very popular. And that's at our elementary and intermediate. Another item that we did add at our high schools is chicken and waffles. I mean, how simple is that? But they are so excited to see that something different. And we are trying at our high schools to once a month throw in something different every month and change it and see what the kids are liking. Another challenge is feeding a large number of students in a very short amount of time while maintaining that great customer service and treating every child like they're the first one that came through the line. Forecasting the amount of food to prepare each day. We do have an awesome program where the managers enter their information that they, all the food that they serve each day, and the next time that item comes up, the manager can actually hover over that ingredient, and it will tell them the last 6 times they served it, how much they made, how much they had left over, and how much they served. So that is a huge bonus when forecasting and trying to figure out how much of everything to make each day. Replacing aging equipment as needed is also a challenge for us. And then the last thing is staff turnover, which I have to say has been much improved this year with our increased rate per hour to the $10. So we have seen improvement with that. All right. So, any questions?
That was a great presentation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I can't even imagine balancing the student preference with having it be healthy. That is a challenge right there. I know. So, any other questions or comments?
I'd just like to say thank you because I know it's a thankless job that you do. And, you know, I guess I have a question about the federal requirements. Are they looking, because you had that stop on the salt intake, yes, they are looking at all of those? Because one of the things that I've heard over the years since 2010 is that the same calorie count for a large high school guy, for instance,
yes,
and a small high school girl is exactly the same. And that's not really doesn't do an athlete or any big guy or any of those things well if they're hungry during the day. I understand that it said something about being healthy but not hungry or something, I think, on that first slide that you had.
Yes.
And that's not really what I'm hearing. So I'd be interested to know if you're hearing talk at the federal level about relaxing some of that or at least accommodating some of our I don't know how to say it, like larger boned kids,
right,
that can take on more weight.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
Right. There really hasn't been any discussion on changing according to the freshman girl or the senior boy.
Yeah.
But we have in the past tried to do a little advertisement that says if you're an athlete, then this is your best bet for you to eat on this line and to select these items. And if you want your more healthy, low-calorie option, then this is your best bet, and to advertise that for those kids. We also, on our menu that's posted online, it has all the calorie, fat, and all the nutritional information. So if they need to beef up or try to hold their calories to a minimum, that information is available. But the USDA puts out regulations based on age grade groups, and so they say 9 through 12 or 6 through 8. And I haven't seen any information coming out about changing that in the future. So, okay.
I had a question. When you upload the database to, if I get this wrong, forgive me, TDA?
Yes.
And then it comes back?
Yes.
Are we finding that that's fairly comprehensive, or are there a lot of kids that we think qualify that aren't in the TDA system?
No, this is super comprehensive now compared to what it was last year. Last year, TEA and TDA would talk and say, TDA would say, okay, these are the kids that we feel like are in College Station ISD, and we would just get a download. But now we don't have to make sure that those two speak together. And say that a child just enrolled yesterday, well, that information hasn't been sent to TEA for them to tell TDA that they're in College Station ISD. And so to me, it is a much better way for the process to happen.
So this reduces the risk of kids slipping
right, and whose parents haven't filled out an application. Okay. And so it saves those parents a lot of time, a trip to our office, and then we just send them a letter that you do not have to fill out an application. You are directly certified by the state because you're involved in another program that gives you that status.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We'll move on to item J1 and receive the annual investment report for the fiscal year ending August 31, 2017. Dr. Ely.
Thank you, Dr. Yoke and members of the board. Yes, we are here to talk about the investments for College Station ISD for the fiscal year ending August 31st, 2017. With more information on that, it's Mike Martindale, Deputy Superintendent and Chief Financial Officer. Mr. Martindale.
I don't even know where to begin, Dr. Wesson. I miss our quarterly reports, so we'll deliver the annual this evening. This is for the 16-17 last year, ending August 31st of 2017. Our investment policies are governed by the Public Funds Investment Act, which in turn shape board policy, CDA, local, and legal, which are investments. Our investment strategies through the course of 16-17 and continue over to 17-18 in orders of priority are, of course, preservation of principal or the safety of our money, liquidity, our ability to get to our funds to maintain cash flow, and yield. Of course, generate whatever interest income possible only after we are sure of the safety of the funds and the ability to get to them. Also, as governed by Public Funds Investment Act, it's required that the district investment officers maintain their training. That is 10 hours of training initially, and then follow-up training of 4 hours on an annual basis. It's page 6 of your investment report, a graph of our various investments. The 3-month Treasury bill is more there as a marker or a standard. Our investments are in the Tex Pool, Lone Star, and with our bank. So I guess even though they start rather low and didn't really get a lot higher, Dr. Wesson, at least they're moving the right direction. There we go. There's always a starting point. Our Tex Pool and Lone Star were a little bit lighter than our the industry standard, the Treasury 3-month Treasury bill for a few months. But as we moved into actually 17-18, that's no longer the case. Where the majority of our funds are obviously are where we get our best interest rate. We get 35 basis points above the target Fed rate from our bank. So you can see with the payments or the interest rates we're earning from our bank last year where the Feds moved that target rate throughout the course of the year last year. And that's a good return for us, and our funds are secure at the bank as well as and meet the liquidity requirements. This is a breakdown of our investments by type. Obviously, with our bank paying such a higher return than either of our pools, we have a majority of our money there. There is, very little diversification with this. However, the security of the bank, everything's collateralized, so we don't have any risk with our investing or having this much of our money at the bank. These are the actual values associated with the pie chart on the previous slide. Again, almost 97% of our funds are at the bank. The remaining funds are in our pools. $158 million is the average amount invested. This number is pretty significant this past year. If you recall, we had 2015 bond, and then we had the 2016. We sold the 2016 series in February 2016 of over $67 million. We did that again last February, so there's a significant amount of money there due to construction that increases that principal amount. Our interest earnings year over. In 2015-16, we in the general fund we earned a little over $350,000 in interest. For 16-17, that number is going to come in closer to $600,000. You can see in our debt service, we basically tripled that return. Increases in special revenue funds and workers' comp as well. Again, the construction funds are more significant, and I'll speak to that again momentarily. I kind of mentioned it or alluded to it on the previous slide. But in the year of 15-16, $900,000, a little over $900,000 in interest income. For 16-17, we came in shy of just $2 million. That is a 112% increase over previous year. Couple of different factors. Obviously, a higher average interest rate, 37 basis points higher than the previous year. Higher cash balance. As I mentioned, we sold bonds in February 16 and 17, so those funds are in there, so that raises our balance significantly. And again, as I mentioned, the bank throughout the course of last year was our best option, considering the risk and those things we can take is determined by the Public Funds Investment Act. It continues to be our best investment into this year. The remainder of the annual report, pages 13 through 28, are your actual CDA investment policy, board policy, the local and the legal. There are no recommended changes. It meets all the requirements as articulated by the Public Funds Investment Act. And it continues to meet our needs as far as our investment strategies that we're incorporating for current year as well. And again, as I mentioned these on the first slide, and we continue with these, is first and foremost the safety of our funds. We do not want to place ourselves in a situation that we're placing taxpayers' money at risk. We have to maintain liquidity. We're a bigger district now. We're growing, so our cash flow is increasing, and of course, yield, with again the safety and liquidity as being the driving factors on that, and we continue to maintain our training as needed. This is a report only item. I'd be happy to field any questions. I don't know if I want to say comments, but anyway, just kidding. Very good. So,
any questions or comments, Mr. Harris?
Just want to confirm, are we in compliance with all of our local and legal policies as well as other legal requirements?
Absolutely, yes, sir, always.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Martindale. We'll move on to J2, consider adoption of the resolution stating that the Board of Trustees has reviewed the district's investment policies and strategies. Dr. Ely?
Thank you, Dr. Yoke and members of the board. Yes, we do need once a year to review the board, the investment policies and strategies with the Board of Trustees, so that you are aware. Mike Martindale in his role as investment officer, Carmela Schaefer in her role, they get annual training on this, and they follow those rules to the T. But with more information regarding our investment policies and strategies, and for your approval of a resolution, is Mr. Martindale.
Thank you, Dr. Ely, board members. Public Funds Investment Act does require us to review our current policies and strategies annually, of which we did as a part of our annual investment report. We continue to utilize those policies and strategies through the course of this year. The PFIA also requires that the board adopt a written instrument or resolution stating it's reviewed those policies and strategies. The instrument adopted must record any changes made to policy or strategies. We're not recommending any changes to policy CDA at this time or our investment strategies. So it is administration's recommendation that the board consider approval of the resolution as presented.
Thank you. Any discussion? Do we have a motion?
Move approval of the resolution related to review of investment policy and investment strategies.
I'll second that.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? So the motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much, Mr. Martindale. Move on to item K1, consideration, discussion, and possible action related to rebranding A&M Consolidated Middle School and College Station Middle School. Dr. Ely.
Thank you, Dr. Yoke and members of the board. The conversation regarding this issue began in the latter stages of boundary adjustment back in 2016. It was in response to community feedback about small pockets of students going to schools that were different from a majority of their peers. The board listened intently to that feedback, and at that time directed the administration and myself to make sure that no students were disadvantaged. Primarily, we're talking about in fine arts and athletics by the middle school and high school that they would be attending. This type of conversation is not a rare one for this Board of Trustees. Many board discussions oftentimes turn to ensuring that the needs of all students are being met, especially focusing on the needs of students who are in a disadvantaged situation. Many times those discussions center around student performance for students of color or poor students. This time the disadvantaged students in question were middle school students who go to a different high school than a majority of their peers. We had a continued discussion at that time in 2016. The type of conversation continued during this year when we restarted the discussion in August of 2017. I would submit that one's views on branding reflects his or her views of where we are in the history of our district. We began in 1909 when we were chartered by the legislature. We had our first graduates in 1922 from A&M Consolidated High School, or I guess it was the A&M school at that time. Back in the 1940s, we moved off campus, and there was only about 500 A&M Consolidated Independent School District students, and we were all over on Hollick. Our flagship high school, A&M Consolidated High School and A&M Consolidated Middle School, have had a decades-long tradition and history to go along with that tradition. Since getting our newest comprehensive high school, College Station High School, in the last 5 and 6 years, both College Station High School and College Station Middle School have done a great deal to develop their own sense of pride and culture around them. So if you stand at where we are in our history right now, a little over halfway to our build-out, which is projected to be 25,000 students. Those 25,000 students include 3 comprehensive high schools, 4 or 5 middle schools, and perhaps 4 or 5 intermediate schools. If you stand and look back at where we were and where we've been in the past, I would submit that that changing our name and colors and rebranding doesn't make a whole lot of sense. However, I would also submit that if you stand in this spot where we are today and you look forward to the time when we have 25,000 students, when we have 3 comprehensive high schools, not with 3 middle schools, but with 4 middle schools or maybe 5, then I would submit that this is a good time to do it. In fact, it's the best time to do it because we're opening up Welver Middle School in this upcoming fall. There's been a lot of discussion regarding the amount of money that it would cost to do this, and rest assured that the administration has gone back and updated our projections, and we've looked at the amount of money already that was that has been set aside for certain things like uniform purchases, and backed out the costs that we would have normally spent to see what the actual true cost of doing a change in colors and mascot for a middle school would be. Also looked more intently at the opportunities for updating and refurbishing our school plants at our 2 older middle schools, AMCMS and College Station Middle School. As we have done further investigation, we realize that a number of the things that need to be upgraded and refurbished are at or nearing the end of their life cycle. So we feel these were projects that we'll be doing in the near future anyway, and would be our recommendation to move forward with those at a time when the district had sufficient funds to be able to do so, which is not necessarily all at one time and not necessarily all right away. Finally, I think symbolically breaking the associations between the middle school and high school will help us move forward in thinking of College Station ISD as one community of excellence rather than 2 distinct communities. The belief in the power of the entire district and all students is a strong tradition. In fact, I think one of the strongest traditions in this district, and one to which I believe we should continue to align ourselves. Making these changes at our middle schools helps us move in that direction. With that, I'd love to answer any questions or hear the comments and discussions you have regarding this item.
Do we want to check and see if there's any public comment first? Do we have any cards on public comment? Okay, any discussion?
I mean, I feel like during workshop we had a pretty thorough conversation. I think it's important that I think we heard from at least 4 board members that rebranding is not rezoning, and that the middle school splits don't really have anything to do with this decision. I think in the minds of most board members up here, that this is a separate, independent issue, and I don't see a great need to rehash an hour-long conversation that we had earlier this evening. But if anybody else has anything else to say, that certainly.
I guess the one thing I would say to those people who've come to this evening is that we do appreciate the input that the community gave us on our survey, that we did try to reach out and hear what the community feeling was on rebranding. One of the things that became very obvious to us is that there is perhaps a miscommunication on what rebranding is compared to rezoning, and that one of the things that Dr. Wesson alludes to that we did talk about in workshop is the fact that where the zones may be today and where they're going to be next year or 5 years down the road or going forward when we need the 4th middle school or the 5th middle school going into a high school, we can't project when that's going to be or what impact that's going to have. And so, dealing with the middle schools today and understanding how important it is for all the students, regardless of whether or not there's a split between 3 schools or 1 school, the fact that we have 3 middle schools and 2 high schools, there is going to be at least 1 school where the kids have to split between high schools. And so because of that, we feel like it's very important that middle school students feel a sense of belonging and camaraderie with the students there in middle school, because we can't guarantee what those lines might look like when those kids actually have to go off to high school. If there's no other discussion, Mr. Nugent.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, because I think there was there's been so much talk for the last month. And again, we don't need to rehash what we did a couple hours ago. It was a very lengthy discussion. I thought it was a great discussion. I think it's important. I know not everyone that is here now was here earlier. One of the 2 things that stuck out for the last month has been discussed already. This is not, we're not talking about zones. We're not talking about splits here. And I think a lot of us had a little bit of trouble with the term rebranding, and I love what Mr. Schaefer, the term you used, has called it refurbishing. These are things that we're going to do anyway, and the 2.2 million number that that has been discussed publicly, and it was we put it out here. We asked for information and we got it. But again, as Dr. Ely I think has so well put it, that most of that, a huge percentage of that number, I think it was all but almost about 200,000, is stuff that we're going to be doing anyway. And I think it's important for the community to know that. That again, we're not talking about 2.2 million. Again, it was a number we asked for, but it was also what was reported. And it scared a lot of people, and it scared a lot of us. That was a big number. It's a big number, and I don't think any of us liked it. So again, just to reiterate that for those who weren't here earlier.
Anything else? Would anybody like to make a motion?
I move that we support the development of individual middle school identities, approve changing the colors and mascots for A&M Consolidated Middle School and College Station Middle School, authorize the district to make a priority of the refurbishment, deferred maintenance, and other renovations associated with those changes when the funds are available.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion as presented say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. With that, we will adjourn. Thank you all for coming.